Hi, welcome to Checkpoint Running. I'm Dylan. Today we're continuing our Thurmont Loop series, so this is going to be part 6. This is starting at Thurmont Vista here, and you can see this is the section we ran last time. This is from Wolf Rock to Thurmont Vista, and then in orange we're going to do this new section, which is Thurmont Vista over to Hog Rock. So this is a little bit of a longer run, about a half an hour. And then in our next series, we'll run downhill from Hog Rock to Maryland 77 and Cunningham Falls, which are really pretty. So here's Hog Rock at the end, a little preview for you. So let's go ahead and hit the trail here. As a reminder, we've got our stats here. And so you can see on the left side, on the top left, that's our path that we're going to follow. And then below that is the elevation profile. So a bit of downhill here to start, so just relax and warm up and enjoy this. And then on the right is speed and incline or decline. So we're running at a decline here of about 9%. And so if you haven't been following this series, this is the Thurmont Loop in Cunningham Falls State Park, which is in central Maryland. It's a little bit north of Frederick, Maryland, and so west of Baltimore and northwest of Washington, D.C. And so this trail, it was a beautiful day. I wasn't trying to run hard or anything. This was just a long training run for me. This trail at the time that I ran it was the first time I had run it, so this was all new to me, and I was just taking it nice and easy, pretty conservatively. Did take this downhill kind of fast because it was just a nice downhill, not very technical or anything. And you can see it gets pretty steep, negative 18% or so. So controlled, but running faster, just stretching out the legs a bit. So this was very early spring in Maryland, clear day, but it was 80 degrees somehow. I think this was in March, and so it was really hot, but I really enjoyed this run, and I hope you're enjoying it with me. As I've mentioned, this is part 6 of 10. So if you, if this is where you're jumping in on this series, I encourage you to go back and watch some of those previous videos. We start off with a really nice long climb. Could be a good strength training run, or a good hill climbing run, or walk or hike, depending on where you are in your fitness. And they're called Bob's Hill, and then that has some really nice views at the top. And then from there, we just continued around this loop.
Good morning.
So the maps at the beginning of this video showed you kind of the whole loop. The whole loop is about 18 miles. I wasn't trying to go particularly fast on this day, so I think it took me about 4 hours or something like that, 4 to 5 hours, somewhere in there, to do the whole thing. And that's with me pausing and filming and doing all of that. And so it was hot this day, which it was nice. I enjoyed the break from the cold. Yeah, but I was really thirsty the whole time, and I did not bring enough water. So I think I actually run out of water somewhere in this section, and then later on there's a campground I come to that had a potable water spigot, and so I was able to refill. But I was pretty miserable there for a little while. About an hour, I think, without any water. And so right here, I think I had a decision to make. And because I was new to this, I thought, okay, well, I need to turn here. I need to go this way because it said to Hog Rock, and there was a trail here that does go over to Hog Rock. But then I wasn't sure, so I checked my map, and I couldn't really tell which way to go. So I ended up picking this direction, which turned out to be wrong. This takes you to the parking lot, but I figured it out. and I was able to correct, and we got back up to Hog Rock eventually. But there's a bit of section coming up here where I run on the road. So things that we see along this loop, like I mentioned, first part, Bob's Hill. It's got 2 overlooks. You can look north and south from Bob's Hill, which is really cool. It's kind of like you're right on this summit of the area, so that's kind of cool. Then we ran down past Cat Rock to Maryland 77, just the highway through there. There was a snake there that was out sunning that caught my eye. One of the first snakes of the season that I had seen. It was just a garter snake. They're not venomous or dangerous or anything. And it was a pretty small one, maybe only a foot long or so. So that was in part 3, I think. And then right after that, we go Maryland 77 up to Chimney Rock, and that was really cool. It's a nice steep climb, kind of technical, lots of rocks and things to get around, but Chimney Rock was really pretty at the top. Then there's a nice easy run, only about a half a mile from Chimney Rock to Wolf Rock. And Wolf Rock is interesting because that one was a rock scramble. It's just this big slab of rock that's just been fractured due to its age and the weathering on it. And so you kind of have to jump these deep crevices that go from like 5 to 10 feet deep. And so that was kind of fun. So, you can go back and watch that. It's about a 10-minute section or so at the end of one of the parts. And then we go from Wolf Rock to Thurmont Vista. So that was our last section before this one. So we're going to keep on going here. About 7 minutes into our run here. And this is the road section. This was really steep section of road here. I wasn't expecting it. So kind of running really easy. And I think I stopped to walk here pretty soon because it was just that steep. And there's not really any shoulder or anything because I missed the turn on the trail back there. No big deal. It happens. I like to joke that if I don't get lost during an ultra, then it's not really an ultra. And this was just, like I said, just a training run. It's not even an ultra. 18 miles is not an ultra. So, yeah, it happens though. You just roll with it. It's kind of how you have to be out here on these trails. You have to roll with the circumstances.
I'm not expecting this.
Could be the weather, could be your equipment. Who knows? Things go wrong all the time. And you just learn from experience and you roll with them. It's talking about what an ultra is and like that this 18 miles doesn't count as an ultra. If you're new to trail running or new to running in general and you're watching my videos, thank you. It's kind of nice. So an ultra marathon is considered anything longer than a marathon. And a marathon is 26.2 miles or about 42 kilometers. So anything beyond that is considered an ultra marathon. And you can do them on the road or you can do them on the trail, but there are generally more options on the trail because it's easier to hold an ultra marathon on a trail for logistical reasons. There's all kinds of ultra marathons. They go from 50K or about 31 miles all the way up to some really, really kind of intense ultra endurance events. There are races like Cocodona 250 miles, Tahoe 200, which is like 200 or 220 miles, Moab 240 miles, Arizona Monster 300, which is 300 miles. And then there are staged races that are multi-day events where you cover massive distances like the Transalpine Run, which is what I'm training for, which is a 7-day event where you run, each day you run a different stage from town to town. And the stages vary in distance and vertical gain. Marathon des Sables across the Sahara Desert, all sorts of different ones. It's like a world marathon tour or something. I forget what it's called exactly, where you do a marathon every day on each continent for 7 days in a row. And so you have to fly from continent to continent against, the Earth's rotation to make time and things. So, um, tons of ultra events. You certainly don't have to do an ultra event to be a runner. I just prefer them. I like to go the distance. I like to feel like I'm actually a little bit underprepared for something. A mile run. I think anyone can do a mile run with just a little bit of preparation, right? If you've never run in your life, you can at least probably walk a mile without dying, unless you have an underlying health condition that is pretty extreme. But once I get to ultra marathons, like, I don't know, right? I can't go out and run 200 miles in a day and say, okay, I'm prepared to run 200-mile race now. Like, that's just not realistic. So there, at some point with an ultra marathon, there's just an unknown element to it, and I really enjoy that. And so I've signed up for Transalpine because it's just a new challenge. It's not something I've ever done before. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it. I'm optimistic. I'm training really hard for it to set myself up for the best possible chance. But I could get injured during it. I could get, the weather could be terrible the whole week, right? It's 7 days of running. So, the weather could be terrible. It's going to be in the Alps of Europe, and that's at elevation. And I train in Maryland where there's no elevation. So I don't know how that's going to impact me. And so that's why I'm out here training. I'm trying to do these long runs, trying to get uncomfortable and find things that work well and things that don't work well so I can fix them before I go and race. So there I was just holding up carbs fuel. It's important to make sure you get enough calories during these runs. It helps so much with just the activity itself as well as recovery after the event. If I were to go out and run 18 miles or 5 hours without taking any food with me, I could do it. I wouldn't die. I have enough, sugars in my body and fat on my body that I could do it. But I would probably feel really, really terrible after a couple of hours. And when I'm done, I think my recovery would take a lot longer because my body didn't have what it needed to repair itself as I'm going. So now we've got a little food. Looks like I'm going to pick it up a bit here. I think this is also a little bit flatter, right? You can see there it's only about 2-3% slope. That's runnable. And we can see on our elevation profile it leveled out a bit here. But we're going to keep going up. We got to get all the way up to Hog Rock here. So just running along the road here for a bit. And I think eventually we find a trail, kind of pop off on the side. If you do have other questions, though, about ultra running, like what is my gear, what is my nutrition, what is my hydration, let me know. Let me know that in the comments. I'm happy to talk about it. As far as my nutrition goes, generally try to keep about 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. I don't tend to take any protein. The carbs I do take, I tend to be about a 2-to-1 glucose-fructose ratio. So, in other words, if I'm taking 30 grams of carbs, 20 grams of that is going to be glucose, 10 will be fructose. And that just helps my digestion. And there's science behind that. That's why these products make them that way. Generally, the receptors in your small intestine, which is what absorbs the sugar, tend to exist in your small intestine at a 2-to-1 ratio and, for glucose and fructose. And since your body can use both of them as energy, you know, may as well absorb them as best you can. So if you were to only take glucose, you're essentially leaving, you know, that all of those fructose receptors unoccupied, right? They're not doing anything. Then they could instead be used to be soaking up that fructose, which you can also use to create ATP, which is what powers your muscles. Continuing to run here, 6-7%. It's getting a little bit steeper. If you're following along on a bike or a treadmill, you should be trying to aim for about an RPE 4, maybe 5. You know, we don't want your heart rate spiking really high on these long runs. If this is the only run you're doing and you are trying to do it as a tempo or some sort of speed work for today, go for it, right? Run is hard, you know, run and keep that threshold heart rate. But I was treating this like this was part of a long run, right? So I'm doing RPE 4 to 5, where I'm trying to keep my heart rate down in that zone 2, which for me is between like 125 and 140, something like that. And be able to just keep moving consistently at that zone 2 and just train my muscles and heart and lungs and everything to work at this efficiency. And then I'll do the speed work later. Those are other videos and other trainings I do. Typically don't film them. And I'll run uphill or I'll run on flat or whatever. But there I'm trying to get my heart rate up really high and my breathing rate up really high. And really work the strength of my muscles and hit that lactate threshold. And those activities allow me to run faster and stay in zone 2. These long runs, I find they tend to work my tendons and ligaments a bit more, and not so much on the muscles, and definitely not as much on the heart or the lungs. I'm typically trying to breathe in and out through my nose on these long runs, and that's how I know, even if I wasn't to carry my watch or a heart rate monitor, that's how I know that I'm about in the right zone for a long run. And the whole point of that is that I could keep this pace for a long time, like almost indefinitely, really, as long as I didn't need to sleep and as long as I keep eating and drinking. And then during a race, I'll pick it up, you know, maybe RPE 5 or 6. So I can maintain it for a long time, but a little bit, you know, not so hard that I will burn out, but enough that my muscles do ache. I'm probably going to eat a bit more along the way because I'm burning more calories, probably running a little bit. I'm burning calories faster because I'm running faster. Anyway, we got up here to the top of the road here, and this is the trail that intersects the road where I was supposed to take it kind of around the mountain on the other side. And so we're going to hop back on the trail here. All right. I climb. You hear my breath a bit. It's a little bit tired. Probably took the hill a little bit too fast, a little bit too hard. So just kind of catching my breath and slowing down a bit before we run again. This was such a nice day. So just very sunny, beautiful. The trees haven't leafed out yet, so you can still see through the trees and through the woods, which is kind of nice. Sometimes during the winter it's pretty stark, especially if it's cold or snowing and, you know, you're the only living thing out there at that time, or I should say moving thing. All the plants are alive, they're just dormant. And I'm sure there's little critters around that I don't hear or see. But this was nice. Again, for March, it being 80 degrees Fahrenheit, this felt really nice. Almost too hot, actually. And then this is, I guess, some kind of like informative, educational nature trail along here. I hadn't been here before. You may have noticed there were some signs along the way, and they're against trees to identify the type of tree so people understand what they are. And there were also flyers at the beginning of the trail that you could take. And I think they just had a little map of this area for people who aren't familiar with it. I like to explore. I like to just kind of go places that I haven't been before and just trust that, as long as I'm on a trail, I'm fine. So I don't usually, bring too many maps with me or concern myself with little things. It's just if I feel like I'm really lost or I'm really out of it, then I'll check my map.
And they're climbing today.
Yeah, still climbing up, still 12%. It's a bit steeper here, and you'll be able to see there on the path map on the left. We go off trail or off of this trail, the main trail. Again, I kind of got turned around a little bit, but I realized it pretty quickly. It happens. I generally, know where I am, and within, reason. I'm never far from help, and I know, like, here the road is off to the right. If I, really were in danger, I could cut through the woods here to the road. You can see the car goes by, so it's no risk here, really. I'm not in extreme wilderness. Still have cell signal and everything usually in Maryland. There are some places I've been that don't have cell signal. Usually large national parks or large state parks. And in those cases, I just make sure, people that I know where I'm at, where I'm going, what the plan is, when I'll be back, that sort of thing. So you never know what could happen out here. Being prepared is important. So I like to make sure I know where I'm going and generally how long I'll be gone and stuff like that. There have been times where I haven't gotten like seriously hurt or anything, but I have gotten extremely exhausted, run out of food, run out of water because I went further than I thought I would, or it took me longer than I thought I would, or whatever. And in those cases, sometimes I've had to call it short, right? There was one time I tried to run like 40 miles and I only got 20 miles into it, and I said that on that day I was not going to be able to do all 40. So I stopped, I called someone and asked them to come pick me up, and that happens, and then I just sat down against a building in the shade or something and try to cool off for a couple hours while they drove out to get me. So it's good to have friends and family that are able to help you when you do get in trouble. Yeah, so here's where I made the turn. I wasn't sure. I saw the markers here on the tree, and I thought, oh, this is the way to go. And then I kind of got up here, and I realized that it was heading to the road, and I
came all this way. May as well go see it.
Yeah, and I thought I was, and then that's when I realized, oh, this is like a trail back to a parking lot or something. So I must have missed it. So turn around and go back the other way. I'll realize that here in just a second. I think it was this sign. It says like that way to Hog Rock, and I was like, huh.
Right.
Oh, guess I turned around.
Okay. Guess this goes to another parking lot or something. All right.
It's all right. Bonus miles. I don't mind bonus miles.
Let's go back to the main trail.
And now we get to run down out, so it feels good. And I know I'm almost done with this section, almost to Hog Rock. So and we are almost there. Just a couple more minutes.
Oh, there's a sign right there. Should have read. Oh well. A little extra doesn't hurt.
So see, yeah, like I just roll with it. You know, I could have got mad at myself. I could get frustrated. It's just whatever. I'm out in nature, running, doing what I like. So I can't get mad at myself too much. Being frustrated because I got lost for what, maybe 50 yards or something. That's nothing. I think it was starting to get a little bit sore at this point. Because we're about halfway around the loop or so, maybe a little bit more than halfway. And this is still pretty early on my training block, you know, being in March. Kind of over winter, I do more strength training and less running. So just getting used to this again. And we've already climbed a couple of mountains, so starting to feel a little bit exhausted, a little bit tired. But still able to keep a pretty good run here. So this sign up here is Hog Rock. It's a nice little overlook here. You can see the mountains in the distance there. A couple of people enjoying a lunch out on this rock. I think I got here right at noon or just about at noon. So I'll let you guys just kind of take in this view here and enjoy Hog Rock. And then here's what we're going to do next time. So we run down the mountain back to Maryland 77. So that's a fun little run. So I hope you'll join me for that. Thanks for watching.